Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing The Legend of Korra. The Legend of Korra, also known as Avatar, The Legend of Korra, is an American animated television series created by Brian Canascio and Michael Dante DiMartino for Nickelodeon, a sequel to their previous series, Avatar: The Last Airbender, which aired from 2005 to 2008. The series is animated in a style strongly influenced by anime. The Legend of Korra ran for about 52 episodes, or chapters, separated into 4 seasons, or books, from April 14th, 2012 to December 19th, 2014, and has been continued as a comic series. So I just wanted to get my first, thoughts down about finishing this last episode of the first season of episode of Korra. I'll talk about it real quickly in a spoiler-free section for anybody that has no idea what I'm talking about. Legend of Korra, basically the show that came after Avatar: The Last Airbender. I wasn't sure if I should go back and watch these children's shows originally, and I was like, Nickelodeon, I don't know if it's going to have that, the art style. I don't know if it's going to have the story. I don't know if it's going to have the stuff that is going to really engage an adult, or just somebody that is looking for something other than live action, just looking for some sort of animation. So Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra became available on Netflix within the last summer, over the COVID summer, I guess is what we'll call it. And so I was like, I want to get into this. I want to get lost into this world because I've only heard good things about it. So I finished all of Avatar: The Last Airbender series. You go back and check those podcasts out for those, what I was thinking about those seasons. Basically, they get better with each season. I thought that Avatar: The Last Airbender was originally geared for television, for as a kids' television series, but to be honest, it's so much more than that, and it's not talking down to kids at all. I mean, it definitely has, some comedy bits that definitely are geared for kids, but overall, I was extremely pleased with how Avatar: The Last Airbender essentially doesn't waste an episode, and I'm even thinking about it, wanting to go back and revisit the world. So I mean, there's so much to watch, so many different television shows to watch. I was like, I don't have time to do that. So instead of that, I just went ahead and jumped straight into The Legend of Korra. And so I went ahead, plowed through the first season of Korra, and I'll talk about it real quickly in season, what I thought about as a full season. Well, just to kind of gear you in the world, The Legend of Korra, first of all, the reason they didn't actually call it Avatar: The Legend of Korra, they didn't want to use the word Avatar, I think because of the Avatar: The Last Airbender, the movie, the M. Night Shyamalan movie. For better or for worse, I think they wanted to disassociate their brand a little bit because of how horrible the reception was of that movie. Again, I have not seen that movie yet, so I'm trying to not taint my experience of the Avatar world. Again, this is an adult podcast, so there will be cursing and whatnot, so don't be surprised if I'm throwing out the F-bombs and whatnot. So just wanted to point that out there. Let me say up front, this is not going to be a very detailed podcast. I didn't take strong notes like I do a lot of my podcasts. I've had some stuff going on behind the scenes, so I just kind of wanted to plow through it and kind of get this first season under my belt just to kind of understand what this world was like. And I kind of got what this entire first season's about. So this this first season is revolving the character of Korra, who is basically a reincarnation of Aang, the character in the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. And without going into too much spoiler territory stuff, there are loose connections to the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. Some closer connections than not. When I say that, I mean like there'll be descendants, grandparents, and stuff, and grandkids that are related from the Avatar: The Last Airbender series that are shown in The Legend of Korra. So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to spoil too many surprises in case you have not watched the series yet. I will say it was exciting to get to see some of the older characters, or the classic characters from the original Avatar series. But alongside that, we do have some very interesting characters that they have brought into focus now. So the main character of Korra is voiced by Janet Varney. We have Tenzin, who is one of the sons of Aang, and he's voiced by J.K. Simmons. Like, holy shit, they got some big names in this. Lin Beifong is voiced by Mindy Sterling. You'd probably recognize Mindy Sterling's face from the Austin Powers series, and she's the one yelling in the Austin Powers Dr. Evil rooms and stuff like that. So she plays Toph's granddaughter, and then we have Stephen Blum as the antagonist, and we can continue on for days with all these amazing actors and voice actors. I'll kind of go into it a little bit more as we talk about it, and I'll probably talk a little bit more about it in season 2 as well, for the podcast on there. I'll be a little bit more detailed and try to take a little bit more better notes on it. But overall, I will just say I really enjoy how The Legend of Korra has this grand epic scope to it. Now, the first few episodes, I was like, whoa, this is a lot of information. Korra, this character, she's about what seems approximately a century away from our previous protagonist, Aang. And there seems to be a lot of progression that has happened in there, in the world, and I love how they've shown how the element bending has become more influenced within the culture and the revolution. And so there's kind of this big steampunk vibe that's been infused in the last, I'd say the last couple seasons of the last Avatar. The Avatar: The Last Airbender, the last couple seasons of that had this big steampunk vibe with the antagonists, and it's kind of flooded into this series of Korra. And so I'm really digging the style and the aesthetic that I'm getting with Korra. I love the new sounds and the new like themes that they have for Korra and the side characters as well. But yeah, we are also introduced to these new characters, Mako and Bolin, voiced by David Faustino and PJ Byron. I don't really know David Faustino too much, but I do know PJ Byron from The Wolf of Wall Street. He's one of the kind of squirrely kind of guys, on there. That follows Leo around. So, yeah, just like any teenage, romance, 16 Candles kind of thing, or I don't even know if I'm even saying it right, but, there's always going to be some teenage drama kind of thing going on. And so just like any of the Avatar series, there is a little bit of drama that happens within the Legend of Korra. And I will say that the Legend of Korra takes a few episodes to kind of get its footing into kind of figuring out where the season's going to go. But I will say around episode 5 or 6, the dominoes begin to fall and you realize, oh my gosh, there's only about 6 episodes left, and each episode feels almost imperative as the last. I mean, there's not a wasted minute on screen, and I was just like, this is excellent. And I think it was by episode 10, I was like, I gotta go. I need to go. I need to watch more. I gotta watch more. And I actually turned on the dynamic brightness on the 4K television. I apparently had to just on a normal setting, and it felt like it was blasting the contrast, the cinematography of the action, the brightness, the contrast, all of it blasting straight into my eyeballs. And like I felt like I could feel the brilliance coming off of the screen, because it was an absolute feast to watch. I was just like, the action, the story, I was like, this is like got me on pins and needles. This is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of story that had me, loving Avatar: The Last Airbender originally. Like its predecessor, the Legend of Korra received critical acclaim, drawing favorable comparisons with the HBO series Game of Thrones and the works of Hayao Miyazaki. This series has been praised for its writing and production values and has been nominated for and won awards such as the Annie Awards and Daytime Emmy Awards and Gracie Awards. The series also praised for addressing social political issues such as social unrest and terrorism, as well as going beyond the established boundaries of youth entertainment with respect to issues of race, gender, and sexual orientation. I was just blown away by the different aspects of this show that are continuously, I don't want to say just like pushing the limits, but I mean they essentially are pushing the limits of, it's not just youth television, because I feel like there is a chunk of the youth that is just watching this for the spectacle. Okay, when's the next fight? When's the next thing? But if you're of a certain age watching it, you are probably retaining much more of a deeper message to it. And that's why I enjoy this Korra series. I had like an emotional reaction at the end of the series. I was like, this is kind of moving, The fact that they are fighting an antagonist in this series that is all based upon removing elements from benders, or removing bending from removing their ability to bend. And so it's just like completely anti to everything that we were taught in Avatar, because Avatar: The Last Airbender, we were following Aang, Sokka, and Katara, and it's all about learning the skills of bending, and it felt so much more flowy as a series. And when we step into Korra feels much more brooding. It feels much more noir, lived in as a town and a series, and detailed backgrounds, just drawings and worlds that feel lived in. It's this Republic City that we were introduced to in this first episode. Absolutely amazing to look at. And I'm still kind of learning about the different types of animation that I'm looking at. I might have called Avatar: The Last Airbender an anime on accident. Apparently, anime is a strictly a Japanese term. I'm still learning. Yes, I think it's strictly. Yeah, I think that's what it is, but I don't know. I might need a professional on that. But anyways, there's different parts of this animation that happen within the Legend of Korra. It's this 2D animation meets this like CG animation, and apparently the cars and the moving machines and stuff like that, that's like CG, and then it's facing the drawings of like Korra or Tenzin or something like that, and it does almost look like two different styles colliding in a very cool visual way. I remember the first time I noticed that I actually saw like a 2D CGI rendering kind of collaboration. I want to say that I really noticed it with the Archer television show recently, because I love the visual style of that, but I don't exactly watch the show that often. But when I do see the commercials or whatever of the show, they're always very aesthetically pleasing. To me personally, I think I just really like the that kind of 50s aesthetic or something like that. This isn't quite a 50s aesthetic, but it does have like that like 19 or like late 1800 or mid 1800s steampunk feel kind of to it, and I really dig it. Um and so the Legend of Korra just kind of continues the world of the Avatar: The Last Airbender. The Avatar: The Last Airbender, I guess I'll try not to spoil too much from it, but I mean, we're gonna have to talk about like descendants from Avatar: The Last Airbender, because they are just they are talked about or are prominent within the Legend of Korra. It's just you can't get around talking about that. So just just know that going in, if you're just skipping Avatar: The Last Airbender, that there will be discussions about that, from here on. So just wanted to point that out. Um, so the let me see. The big thing about bending the elements and being able to manipulate the elements like water, earth, fire, and air is that, as a concept, before watching the first Avatar or Korra, I was like, this just sounds, kind of dumb. I don't know. It would be cool to throw rocks. It would be cool to, do fireballs and stuff like that. But I never saw like practicality with it. And so Avatar: The Last Airbender, with each season, they kept getting more creative. The creative staff team, the writing, all of that kept getting better with each season, showing how more practical and how more detailed you could get with the bending. So the bending started, uh, you know, branching off from not just being able to move, just being like an earthbender. They went from being an earthbender to branching off to being like a metal bender, and that is just like one of the coolest things. Is they're like, when you're bending an element, you aren't just bending one thing. You can bend multiple things when you search inside yourself and you understand that everything's made of something. Or yeah, I don't exactly remember what the correlation was exactly, but essentially earthbenders can also bend metal occasionally or sometimes if they're taught to. And same thing with fire, being able to bend lightning and stuff like that. And water seems to be a branch off of being able to absorb water out of just thin air or objects. And that's even shown, just think of all the different types of organisms that have water in them, and essentially you have control of it. So the possibilities for the creative staff seem to be almost endless. And so, long story short, spoiler free, I will say The Legend of Korra is absolutely worth your time. They do kind of have this few episodes where they're trying to kind of get into this. It's like this game, they pro bending or something like that, I think it's called. And it's a really detailed game, and I think they might spend maybe an episode two or one or two too much on it. But that would be my only critique about this first season, is that I was like, all right, this is a pretty cool game, but I don't see how it's progressing the story. And so once they get past the pro bending stuff, it's fun to watch in my opinion, but I don't think it progresses the story in ways that I really think it benefited the entire series. That would be my only thing. So that's why I felt like there was an episode one, one or two that probably could have just. We only needed one pro bending episode, I think. But yeah, it kind of affected the pacing for me at the beginning. I was just like, all right, are we just gonna watch pro bending for the entire season? What's the deal? What's the pacing? Why should I care? And they really kicked me in the pants about episode 6 of why I should care. I was just like, okay, oh, we got a real threat, and so Amon is not to be bucked with. I'll just tell you that. So let's jump into spoilers, and we'll talk a little bit more about The Legend of Korra Season 1 in spoilers. Hopefully this was a good gearing of whether you would like to jump into The Legend of Korra. From a visual standpoint, it's absolutely spectacular. Get it on something, put it on a 4K, put it on a 1080p, something, whatever looks good on a really high res monitor, and make sure you get something that sounds good as well. I noticed that the music is something that really punches, as well as the sound effects and sound design. I really think when somebody gets airbend to the face, or when they get a rock thrown to the face, you want to be able to feel the punch, you want to feel the bend to the throat, you know what I'm saying? And so that's my whole thing. But yeah, let's talk about this real quickly, or within a designated amount of time. I don't know how long it's going to take, but let's just do it in a little bit. About Legend of Korra Season 1 spoilers starting now. So, in summary, I will say that The Legend of Korra has an excellent aesthetic, the design, the world building, the creature design. It's very much the next generation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So, from the sound, the look, amazing. Let's hop into the spoiler section right now. So, right before we get into the spoiler section, I will just let everyone know this is not going to be as detailed as a lot of the podcasts I do. Sometimes I have pretty detailed notes on specific scenes and things that I really liked. There were tons and tons of action scenes, and just really aesthetically pleasing to the eye scenes that I really loved in this show. I cannot nearly name all of them. So, I am going to refer to another podcast that was actually recorded back in 2012. It's the Republic City Dispatch podcast. It is a podcast that basically breaks down each episode in about 20 to 30 minutes, and they just talk about the episodes. Really enjoyed the recaps, and they're pretty timeless for whether you're watching them, way back, whether you watched them way back then, or whether you're watching them today. They are helpful for kind of gearing you where you are in the headspace. And so that's great for if you want a really good detailed podcast. I'm going to talk about this show real quickly in the spoiler section right now. And so just in a less detailed manner, I will say The Legend of Korra Season 1 as a whole was a lot of fun. The first few episodes were a little slow getting into the world. I think that's just me personally. In most seasons, trying to re-gear myself and how this story is going to be told. I will say, this first season did not focus nearly on as much as the training I thought we were going to have her in. She comes in as an avatar that knows just about 3/4 of the main elements, fire, water, earth, and the entire season she doesn't. She's unable to airbend, and so right at the very end when she is fighting, not Tarluck but Amon, it just it's like a breath of fresh air to see her hit that, like hit the air bend. And so basically what I'm saying is the restrictions of her power levels made this series and made her character more relatable. Like, yes, she is supposed to be the most powerful bender, but she's still young and she still doesn't have full control of her powers. And when she's fighting Amon literally takes her bending away. And it is horrifying to watch this happen throughout the series. When it's first happening, they kind of have this camera pan, zoom in, and it's like going in on the person that's having their bending taken away. I think Lim Fong got her Toph's granddaughter, I believe, or daughter. I can't remember. I think it's her daughter. Yeah, her daughter got her bending taken away and all of that. It was just a crazy season of having these power struggles between Amon and then Tarlok, his brother. There's this whole subsection of Tarlok basically saying, our father was in the same council as Aang, or he was under fire back in Aang's days, and he was told essentially that bloodbending is illegal and outlawed. I believe it was Katara that says that she outlaws it. And so, yeah, like I said, I didn't take any notes on this, and so I don't have all the names, and I don't have all the places, and I don't have all the details all down. But basically what I'm saying is Aang had fought the father of Tarlok and Amon, and we found out through some backstory between Korra and Tarlok that they're brothers. Amon and Tarlok are brothers, and I was like, holy Santa Claus. And then there's this big backstory with how the father was an extremely abusive father, having them bloodbend animals, and it's kind of horrifying as a kid show to watch that. I was like, god dang, this is some next level, because this is spoilers for Avatar The Last Airbender as well, because the power sets bleed into each other, so I'm going to talk about that. I think it was third season, Avatar The Last Airbender, Katara has to bloodbend a witch, I believe, at some point, and it was absolutely horrifying to watch all of that happen, and it's just taking the idea of waterbending to the next level, because I believe when they're showing bloodbending at first, they're just showing how water can be taken from just like basically right out of thin air from organic objects and living organisms and stuff like that. And then it transitions to you can take water from somebody's, body, and basically you're bending the water in their blood. And so it's causing them to move. And so we see Tarlok's and Amon's father. I need to get that dude's name. We see their father bloodbend an entire city council and Aang at that time, and basically, long story short, Aang goes into the Avatar mode and goes and does the trick where he removes his bending away, and so that's where the anger came from, in a way, from saying that there's too much power with the avatars and the bending and stuff like that, although his sons also had the bending abilities as well. And so the hate transferred, all of the stuff that his beliefs transferred down to Tarlok and Amon. Let me see if I can get let me see if I can get Yakon. Okay, that was his name. Okay. So anyways, let me see what we got right here. Okay, so I actually did find the entire synopsis for Book 1, Season 1, Air. Let's go ahead and run down the overall synopsis of it. Korra, now 17, and having mastered 3 of the elements, she needs to learn airbending from the only living airbending master, Aang's son, Tenzin, voiced by J.K. Simmons. Korra moves to Republic City to go after him, following a brief encounter with Katara. Being taken in by Tenzin and meeting both Makio and Bolin before joining their pro-bending team. After saving Bolin and having her first sighting of Amon. Korra's romantic struggles lead to difficulty with the pro-bending team, which the group recovers from relatively successfully, win their match, and make it to the finals, where they are defeated, and Amon strikes with his group of followers, the Equalist. Korra afterward discovers Hiroshi Sato's ties to the Equalist, then allowing Asami Sato, Bolin, and Mako to live with her, forming a team with the group that Councilman Tarlok breaks up by arresting the others and revealing himself as a bloodbender in an encounter with Korra where he subdues her. She is locked in a secluded cabin that holds her for a short time, before she breaks out once it is ambushed by Amon and the Equalist. The group launching an assault on Republic City that Korra and the others are empowered in, forcing them to retreat until General Iroh, voiced by the Dante Basco, the Zuko character, and the united forces come to the city as reinforcements, who are also overwhelmed. Following saving Tenzin and his children, and seemingly losing her bending of the 3 elements to Amon, Korra engages in a battle with Amon where she emerges victorious thanks to her airbending, having the other elements restored by Aang, and in doing so, gaining the power to restore bending as well. This is the essential book 1 all in about, a couple minutes. So with saying that, I will say that this felt very self-contained as a season, and if they wanted to just end the series right then and there, I wouldn't have been mad. But I am really glad that we are getting more Korra and that we are getting a wider scope of just this world, given that we stayed in Republic City this entire season. I think what this new series did well was expanding upon the world, bringing us and entrenching us with a new aesthetic, but yet still bringing the story that we knew and loved from the Airbenders, and the style of bending as well. I mean, all of these different bending styles have something unique about them. I mean, they have the cage fighting, freeform style, pro bending tournament, water style, island temple, Aikido style, southern temple, Bagua style, southern tribe, Yang style. There's metal clan, Beifong style. There's all these different types of fighting styles that all have to correlate with the types of bending that they're doing. It's really awesome to learn about how much detail they put into just the types of choreography that you're watching. They're not just throwing fists and punches. They are actually performing martial arts in a lot of these. Fire Nation, long fist style, white lotus form, intention fist style. I mean, it's all here. It is insane. Let me see what. So. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's just so much that you could cover about this show. It's impossible for me to talk about it in under an hour, and I just don't have that time or energy. I need to just bend the podcast. I need to be a podcast bender so I could just bend all these real quick, and so I don't have to do them. I'm just like fucking so swamped. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I absolutely loved Korra. I can't say I loved it at first, but once the plot got going around episodes 4 or 5, and I saw the drastic stakes that we were working within, and that the side characters, the supporting characters, were starting to become just as interesting as the main characters. That's what I loved about Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's what I'm looking for, a rich story with rich characters. So yeah, check out Book 1, Air, The Legend of Korra series. I watched it on Netflix. I'm not sure when you'll be able to watch it, or when or where you're watching this, so you'll have to Google it, find it, do your own Legend of Korra research. But let me tell you, it's definitely worth the watch. But I would also say you need to watch the Avatar: The Last Airbender before all of this. So it's definitely a great follow-up. So thank you for listening, watching The Legend of Korra Season 1, Book 1, Air review. Let me know how I can improve. I'll try to take better notes for the Season 2. Hopefully things won't be as swamped on my side. I just was trying to plow through this entire season just to kind of have it under my belt so I'd have knowledge of what was going on. It's sometimes overwhelming trying to jump into a new series. You're like, oh my God, 60 episodes or something like that. Well, there's... How many episodes is this? It was a little bit daunting at first. 52 episodes. I was like, on top of the Avatar, which was 66 episodes, I was like, this is a lot of episodes. But I broke it down and I said, okay, so we have 52 episodes. That sounds like a lot. But if you break it down into how they aired it, they aired Book 1 in about 10 weeks. And I think they did 11 and 12 on the same week. But overall, essentially, it comes down to 4.5 hours or something like that. It's for this first season, that's really nothing. You can, get through that in a couple of days. And so, yeah, very bingeable. I think this series works much better on a binge. I couldn't imagine watching this week to week. Oh my goodness. So, thank you for listening, watching Look It All Podcast. Check out all the social medias at Look It All Podcast. Check in the show notes for all the descriptions and all the good juicy details you can get in there. Anything else that y'all would probably need to know for the next few episodes? This is probably going to be released in between a couple of movies and stuff like that. We're trying to cover the Mulan series. We went back and checked out the 1995 Mulan, so we'll have a good refresh on how the two compare. So, yes, if you like the Look It All podcast, be sure to check out all the other Look It All podcasts. We have more Netflix television coverage as well. I mean, we have that new Project Power that came out a few months ago as well. I actually had one or two good things to say about that, despite the craziness in it. And what else do we have? The Umbrella Academy. Like I said, if you're on that Netflix flow, be sure to check out that. We have the full Umbrella Academy Season 1 and 2 coverage. We went deep with that shit, so you better go check that shit out, man. The Aftercast, you might see Aftercast on the list on the library. You're like, what the hell is an Aftercast? Aftercast is what we talk about in between the podcasts, kind of non-entertainment related. Sometimes we talk about major people that have been by, or something that has happened major in the news or something. Yes. And at the time I'm recording this, actually, RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, has passed away. So I just want to do a little a couple seconds of silence for her. Hey, I said silence. Okay, so yeah, she was a very influential person in our country, and so I can't say enough about her, and so I want to leave it right there. But yes, thank you for listening, watching Look It All Podcast. Be sure to check out all the Look It All podcasts. Let me know how I can improve. If you want these podcasts early or live, check out Twitch for the live stream. Check out YouTube to get the podcast early. And then check out Soundcloud if you want the entire library. So we got 3 platforms on there. If you want to interact with the people that are behind the scenes, like myself, Elias, and then we have some buddies, I have some friends, I have some, we have followers, we have people that are in chat rooms, and we're always talking about cool, unique stuff. Check out the Discord. The Discord link is in the description, and yeah, be sure to email LuckyDogPodcast@gmail.com for comments, questions, concerns. Twitter @LuckyDogPodcast. Facebook group is down below. Twitch link, Instagram, YouTube, Discord links are all down below. Thank you for listening, watching Lucky Dog Podcast. We cannot do this without you. Take it easy. I lied. I had a few more things come to my mind when I was typing in this last few edits. I was like, I didn't think the love section exactly worked 100%. I do think I was like, yeah, this is a great season, yada yada yada, and there was a couple things that did bother me. I will say the I love you at the end. It's like wait, what? It's like holy Santa Claus, like that was a quick skip, and I did feel like they kind of put Asami to the side. I was like, dang, I didn't feel like Mako definitely felt like he had feelings for Korra, and they kind of just kept developing them. But I didn't feel like there was like a wedge between him and Asami to the point that he wanted to break up with her. It was more like she was just getting upset for her. I don't know, for Mako being worried for Korra during the time she was kidnapped and stuff like that. I was like, okay. Like she has like Mako has total reason to be. It's like there's no reason to be jealous at this point. So the love story was a little bit choppy for me, and I think a little bit quick. There's and she loves him. Bye. Put a cherry on top. Bye. It's like, oh wait, what? I love you. Wait. I mean, I was in high school at one point too, and I said I love you, and I was ready to get married at one point. I'll say that right now, and so I do not disparage some of those young loves out there, but Jesus, like I didn't feel like there was nearly enough chemistry between them to be hitting out the I love you. So I was like, God dang. But yeah, overall, I did think it was a nice, complete season, and it worked for if we didn't get a season 2 or 3. Like it worked as a contained season. It's a nice, happy ending. A little bit fairy tale-ish, but it's whatever. And it looks like book 2 is going to happen a year after book 1, so she'll be 18 in book 2. So yes, let me see. All right. Thank you for listening, watching Lucky Dog Podcast. Take it easy. Bye, cabbages!